Hi, I'm Jerry Boykin. I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership here in the next few minutes. When you stop and think about the components of leadership, one that always I think has to be put first is ethics, ethical leadership. Now, you can go back in history and you can see a lot of leaders that accomplished what they set out to do. They were effective leaders, but in many cases they were not moral or ethical leaders. And as a result of that, the things that they succeeded in many cases were just abysmal. Hitler is the obvious example of that, but there are others, like Mao Zedong, like Joseph Stalin. These leaders were effective. They led and they compelled people to do what they wanted them to do. But they didn't have that most important and critical element of morality or ethics. And those are key to being an effective leader and accomplishing things for good. We should all be attempting with our lives to accomplish good things, to accomplish things that benefit mankind, that accomplish things that benefit our families and our communities and the nations that we live in. And that's why ethics is so critical to the whole concept of leadership. So when I look at and evaluate a leader, I look first at their integrity. I look first at whether they are people that are ethical, that are moral, and that have the integrity to support moral behavior, ethical behavior, and expect from them an ethical and moral outcome. Now, here's something that I think is very important to us as leaders. Number one, you need to know what you believe. That is one of the things that destroys a lot of leaders, because they go in thinking that they've solved all of their own personal problems and they're going to be good leaders, and then they wind up failing because people challenge them on the very core of what they believe. And then all of a sudden they're not so sure. They're not sure, and they start to compromise. And when they start to compromise, they're on a slippery slope to absolute and total destruction. It may be compromising on small things at first, and then it gets larger. It gets easier every time. It's not enough just to know what you believe, but it's also important to know why you believe it. Here's an example. Do you believe in capitalism versus Marxism or socialism? Do you? Why? Do you know enough about capitalism to be able to give it a fair evaluation? Have you studied capitalism? Have you studied the effects and the long-term bad that socialism and Marxism has caused everywhere it's been tried? If you don't believe in what you say you believe in, then you're going to get yourself in trouble. But in order to do that, you've got to know why you believe it. It's very, very important. What do you believe and why do you believe it? That builds a strong foundation, a strong base for you to be able to stand up under attacks over your beliefs. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that Jesus Christ was his son, born of a virgin, lived as a man, went to Calvary and died, but was resurrected on the third day? Do you believe that? Why do you believe that? Have you studied the Bible? Do you have a personal relationship? These are things that are important to you being an effective leader, particularly if you're going to be a leader in a spiritual community, in the body of Christ. You've got to know what you believe, but more importantly, why do you believe it? Do you believe in family? Maybe you came from a broken family, but do you believe in family? And the question then is, why do you believe in family? Is it because you were raised in an intact family? Well, that's a good reason to believe in family. You've seen it, but you may not have come from an intact family, but you still believe in the family. Why? Ask yourself why. Put a little time into thinking through these things. And don't just go out and think that you're going to be an effective leader just because you have decided what you believe, but there's no foundation to it. You don't know why you believe it. It's very, very important to spend time thinking about why you believe what you believe, because that essentially establishes your values. And values are something that most of us cannot define. We can't define what our values are. We talk about the things that we value, but the reality is, unless you've really put a lot of thought into that, you're not really sure what your values are. You ask a millennial today, you ask a lot of these young people that are the future of this nation, that deserve everything we can do to help develop them. Ask them what their values are. And the truth is, most of them can't tell you because they've never been challenged to think about it. That's one of the things we're going to do in the course that I'm going to teach. We're going to talk about values. We're going to get down to the bottom line. What are your values? I'm going to force you to assess yourself and determine what your values are. I'm also going to ask you to spend a lot of time as we go through identifying the characteristics that make good leaders. Good leaders. Good leaders, which means ethical, moral leaders as well. So I'm looking forward to being in the classroom with you. We're going to have a good time. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to do this all together. This is not about lecturing. It's about getting you to evaluate yourself. God bless you.